Yes, welcome one and all to yet another edition of the Monday Night Live on cricket.com. My name's Avni Shaikh and I have Nikhil Popa with me. Normally it's three, which of course make this show, but we've got just two because he's on his travels, that boy Akshay Kumar Swami, who should be with us, I'm guessing at some point in time in this show. But there's so much to talk about. And of course, Nikhil Popa, how are we on this Monday?
All good. Good to have a few days off in terms of no cricket actually. We've had lots of ODIs going on. Of course, we'll talk a lot about them in the coming times. But yeah, good few of days to welcome Papa home to whoever is celebrating Happy Ganesh Chaturthi. Because
Yeah,
some are
absolutely.
celebrating today, some will celebrate tomorrow. So whenever is best for you.
No, absolutely. I agree with you fully. And from entire cricket.com, actually, the festivities have begun. And of course, like Nick rightly mentioned, happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all of y'all. Meanwhile, I know you guys will just jump on this MNL. If you guys are just joining us, feel free to ask us anything in the comments. Like Nick said, we're going to talk about all the ODI cricket which has preceded us on this weekend and talk about the Asia Cup, pick the bones about that, what we've learned from this competition from an India lens. Then we, of course, talk about South Africa, Australia, some crazy numbers along the way, and much, much more to keep you pretty much occupied in a Monday night live. Let's, of course, take one comment to just get started off. First live show where CDC would be in India's got. Yes, absolutely. And this too is a good reminder from Santosh Urupa. Around 8:30 or whatever it is, we will bring you the India updated squad for Australia, which starts on the 22nd. We'll be doing match previews and reviews for that as well. And hello, where is Akshay saying neural hacks with Vasant? He's in the Gurudwara in Amritsar. Gurkirat actually sent me pictures, believe it or not, for me to like show you guys, but I'm not going to do that because I have better things to show you, honest to God. Let's start with, of course, a bunch of stats, Nikhil, from the weekend. Let's start with talking about India and Sri Lanka and that Asia Cup final, which happened in 5 seconds or 10 seconds. I don't know how long it was, but pretty much a shortened one, given Siraj and how he absolutely destroyed them. And bear with me because I'm just going to show you guys a bunch of depictions which are on the cricket.com website as well on our social media platforms. And as you can see, India winning their eighth Asia Cup crown. And you got a feel for Sri Lanka. But when you look at this, Sri Lankan fans would not be pretty much waking up every Monday morning, or this Monday morning at least, to see things like this. Sri Lanka 50 all out, of course, and it was that man on display. I'm just going through the stats really quickly, but all of this, like I said, is available in the data digest section, and I will show you guys some more. But to give you guys some sort of things to talk about, tell us right now your best India moment of Asia Cup, or if there's any other moment you feel that the tournament should be spoken about, tell us. But I want to start by asking Nikhil his particular learnings from an India team. Now, this is what we've, of course, come up with, and we can break down the points as we go forward. Do you agree, first and foremost, with these five main pointers and pretty much 5 to 6 individuals?
I agree with the first one for sure. Always believed Hardik, when he's fit, can definitely add up as a third simmer.
Mm-hmm.
Bumrah, Rahul's fitness. Rahul, I'm sure of. Bumrah's not bowled 10 so far in an ODI. So I'm waiting for that to happen first. Kuldeep, of course, is indispensable, no doubt there. Shreyas Iyer is no longer India's best 11 is something that I don't agree with, but that's okay. We all have our views there. I feel he is a straight in at 4, and I don't think you have a ready replacement there. And Mohammad Sham is the last simmer in the pecking order. Yes, completely agree on that aspect as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many things to like go into, but I just want to understand that Hardik bit a little bit more because he did bowl really well, Nikhil. In fact, that preview that, sorry, not a preview, a review that Anirudh Suresh has written after the Asia Cup goes to show in some fantastic numbers about Hardik. But I want to ask you about him as a middle over, beg your pardon, enforcer in one day internationals. Now, this is his bunch of groupings from the Asia Cup. What does it tell us, and what do you expect from Hardik in this role?
So you can already see the grouping, which tells you what you're going to expect from him, which
Hmm.
is in one way at times also works against him, but it's where you'll have to see how he uses the variations then, because you see a lot of the bowling that he does usually is in that length, good length, and that kind of area, the length or the back of length area. Now you also see the economy rate being slightly higher on the short and back of length part, which is 4.2, 6.7, considerably higher than when he goes full. But of course, the margin is also larger for error on that angle. So I'm fine with it. But like say the episode we saw with Liam Livingstone, there are days when you feel that he's going short, but it's getting hit very often. But then it's a battle of, I'll get you. You can hit a couple of fours, but I'll still. Something that happened with Marco Jansen and Mitchell Marsh yesterday. Jansen kept bowling short, Mitchell Marsh kept hitting him. Eventually, Mitchell Marsh hit one to the fielder. So it's very risk and reward, and that's what I expect with Hardik. As when conditions are flat, when they are good
Hmm.
enough, I think he'll be the one who will push it slightly ahead, bowl length, test the channel, and control is something that I'm looking at from Hardik from now on, because you already have two very good bowlers up top in Siraj and Bumrah, who should on most occasions touch would take a couple of early wickets, so that it eases Kuldeep into the game. And then if Shardul is in a charitable mood where he wants to give away a few runs before he takes wickets, you can get to Hardik and use his short ball as well. Because I think on surfaces where there is uneven bounce, Hardik has often shown us he can get not just movement, which we've seen in Ahmedabad many times, but also some good bounce. So I think all in all, a much better package, and the control that we saw in the Sri Lanka second spell, very heartening and something that we'll not forget for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, he actually bowled what 20.4 overs in this year's Asia Cup, finishing with 6 wickets in an economy of 3.3. And look, it has to be said about certain areas where he's bowled at. For example, he's bowled only a solitary over in the power play, but he executed this role of being a middle over specialist with perfection. So that's something that India can really take some sort of solace out of. Let's go to that point number 2 then, and talk about what you liked about Bumrah and Rahul, because Rahul was brilliant against Pakistan. Bumrah as well to, of course, start that slide, if I may say, in that final on Sunday. Those two are critical, right? If India really want to go a long way in this World Cup campaign, Bumrah and Rahul and their fitness is imperative.
100%. If you want to name four people who will decide this World Cup for me, and again, four are quite a few, but I think these four will eventually decide the World Cup for India. That is Bumrah, KL, and your top two legends that are batting at 1 and 3. Uh, if these four click, India should go all the way. Because the thing
Yeah,
is, they play such crucial roles that it's very hard to replace them. Firstly, in terms of quality and also experience under pressure, there is a reason why Ben Stokes is back in the side at the expense of a Roy who's still average. Again, it's not particularly Roy, but you got in Brook and all of that. But you don't want people to suddenly lose touch, and which is why KL Rahul's game time was critical. We talked about that a lot during the Asia Cup, and hopefully Shreyas Iyer is also able to find the time at 4. Because if not him, then you'll again see KL Rahul batting at that spot. So which is why KL's keeping and batting fitness at that spot. Bumrah, we've spent a year without Bumrah, so I don't think there is any more weight that we want. That hopefully he stays fit, and yeah, Rohit Virat I feel will have a very crucial role to play.
yeah, those four, like you said, I think, I mean, if they by all means keep their kind of form and fitness, it'll be fantastic. Noodle Acts wasn't saying KL comeback, shutting noise, my favorite, along with his keeping. And like you said, Shreyas Iyer is the most important batter actually
Yep.
going into the World Cup, but he hasn't really got that game time that they're looking for. Hopefully, in 20 minutes' time, when we see the Australia squad, the India squad for Australia's, then we'll see Shreyas' name feature in that. And it makes you think as well, if everything's kind of smooth sailing for India, even though they won this Asia Cup. When you go back to that particular depiction that we, of course, have taken from the article, which is available on the website, it says point number 3, which is Kuldeep Yadav, indispensable. Now, this man, 9 wickets in the competition. And I just want to ask Nikhil Popat his breakdown to lefties and righties, and what impressed you about Kuldeep Yadav in a depiction like this?
See, I think it just while we look at the data on screen, you look at those averages and economy rate. That is, you're keeping things very very tight. Firstly,
Yeah.
and then the fall shot percentage just tells you how much actually India rely on him to get rid of the left-handers. Now that bit is very very critical for India, because you have a Jadeja who at times we've seen is a bit more defensive in his approach versus lefties. He's very attacking against right-handers. He's bowling in that channel where he wants to take wickets, but not always with the lefties. He's looking to cram them, get them to make a mistake more than forcing a mistake on them. So I think it is where it's the one place that I feel teams will start to target India as well. That at this point of time, the reliance on Kuldeep to get you the lefties, which is that 38% is a very good number to have in terms of false shots created. So uh, I think that's where some pressure will be on Kuldeep in the middle overs. So very keen to see how India counter that. We may have an answer by at 8:30 if there is a counter already being planned.
For sure, but like in terms of a wrist spin weapon, I think Kuldeep Yadav, we can't ask more from him, and it's good that
Yeah.
he's actually got to scale up heading into that World Cup. Remember, India play another 5 one internationals before their game against Australia. Chennai
Yes.
3 against Australia, and then England and Netherlands, and then of course they take on Australia themselves in Chennai in that World Cup opener. Right. Going to point number 4 then, really quickly, because Shreyas Iyer was a huge talking point in the Asia Cup. Now, where does that leave him? If he does get picked in that squad, Nikhil Popat, do you slot him straight him and then KL back at 5? Is it as simple as that?
Yes, 100%. No doubt there. And I think the max that I will wait is one game. I
Hmm.
don't think you can wait two games and then give him just one and just play him in the warm-ups and expect him to just be ready for the World Cup. It's not ideal. So I mean we heard Rohit say that he's 99% fit, assuming the 1% should be taken care of in the next couple of days. So there are still 3 days to that series. So he's fit. He comes in at 4. KL is 5. That is your best top 6, best top 7 that you have at this point of time. So I still feel the even more so with the injury to Aksar Patel, because now you do not have anybody who's able to hit spin very well. The
Hmm.
problem with India is they're always relying then on the best case scenario of one of their top 3 batting team. If that happens, of course you're going to hit spin because you are settled and you're in. But it doesn't always happen. So in those cases, in the other 7 out of the 10 cases, you will need your middle order batters to be confident. And so far, from what we've seen from Hardik and Jadeja, not quite ideal. So you will need a Shreyas Iyer to really take the attack to the spinners, or if not take the attack, just keep them at bay, like how we saw with Kusal and Sadira. I mean, just we've taken their example so many times. It just tells you how, because that's what people will relate to, how easily they made it look, that they were able to milk the bowling around without taking much risk.
Just before I come to the last couple of learnings, I just want to ask you about Kishan's form and whether that's made things
Mhm.
complicated for someone like Shreyas Iyer. Because Kishan, in his last 7 innings, Nick's 54.90 is what he's averaging, and he's a lefty, and he's a keeper. Do you think he's a perfect floater slash opener for India? And then that kind of ruins Shreyas Iyer's chances, or not really?
Not for me. I think he remains firstly a backup opener, then a backup keeper, and then number 4. So that will be the order for me if you ask for Kishan, because just being a lefty doesn't help. We saw that already in the 2 games where he kind of stuttered to get going when he starts with his spin, and that's not something that's happened for the first time. So there are learnings for him also to execute. But we've also saw in the last chase that he had, the 50-run chase, just how confident Ishan looked batting, getting off the blocks in the power play. So that's the natural fit for him. So hopefully Shreyas gets fit so that nobody's then out batting out of position. And if he's not fit, then we are going to really hope that Kishan is able to start well. Because the only bit with Kishan is starting. If he starts well, he'll ensure that the runs are taken care of. That's what happened with Pakistan. He started very well, and that is something that I feel is very, very crucial with Ishan.
And that's spot on. I think that's a very good observation made by you over there, because once you start well, then you get your eye in. And he's, of course,
Yeah.
carrying on a long, rich run of form since that West Indies tour, which always helps. By the way, keep your questions coming through, I should say, beg your pardon, because we do have a 12th man segment of Monday Night Live if you guys are watching this show for the first time. So we'll take all the cracking questions, but we'll keep, of course, reflecting your comments as well in terms of insights. Prashant Agarwal, good to see you. You've gone to say team management is a mixing format with Sky and mixing patience with Kishan. Pranav Anand going on to say, was checking articles from early 2022 after South Africa series, and man, we're almost in a similar situation as Park, even worse. Power play bowling was pathetic, middle over was pathetic. Credit to the whole team management where due. I mean, we'll talk about lots of those things. Arjun Reddy, good to see you. We will, of course, talk about that. I don't know whether that's true or not, but 100%, if you saw that Rohit Sharma press conference, which is available on the cricket.com YouTube channel, you would, of course, go on to see a part where he says This is Rohit, that is. He says that I've been on phone with Ravi Ashwin, and Sundar was just not like a one-off decision. They've been thinking about these players. They know that off spinners are super important. They've got a wrist spinner, but they need to get an off spinner, and I think that could be a call that they will take. Depends on Akshar's fitness. Uh, Pranav will take all your questions. Rajay Human, good to see you. Jaydeep Gajera as well. Likewise. Let's just finish off that last bit before we go into that India Australia squad and lots more. Which is Mohammad Shami, the last seamer in the pecking order. Do you think he'll get game time in the Australia series, or you don't think at all it's done?
It's very, very difficult actually. I'm just now very, very distracted by the Ashwin news. So,
But is it true
apology.
though?
It looks like it is. It looks very, very true that there are reports that should Ashwin will make it, and I think there was also a report that they actually had asked Ashwin, but he wasn't ready to fly down maybe as in as immediate manner as that one. So see, the problem that I have here is he's going to play against Australia at home. Uh, he can rip a few past the left-handed off stump. It's going to be very, very, very tough to then not buy into that bit about wanting to play him. But that the game time bit is also, as you said, it remains to be seen how are they planning this now. Because with Sky, the question is not there. I don't think there is place. But what do you do with with Aksar if he when is he getting fit? Because then suddenly we were thinking that they are at number 8 will replace Shardul with Aksar. But the only problem with Aksar is where do you get the batting from? Now, is Ashwin as good a batter versus spin as Aksar? No. So I think that's where the problem lies. Because in all of this, I completely missed the question that you asked. Okay, who do you think is going to get game time? I'm that distracted by Ashwin now.
No, I fully agree with you, and I'll tell you what, rightly so, because when was the last time Nick Ashwin played in ODI? South Africa away?
January, January 2022.
Okay, so that's not that long ago, but people will still
It's
be
Mohammad
surprised.
Shami only. It's like
It,
I said it in the space yesterday. It's India's परंपरा प्रतिष्ठा अनुशासन. एक वर्ल्ड कप में एक वाइल्ड कार्ड एंट्री तो बनती है. That's this is Ashwin's wild card entry now.
but tell me something, if Ashwin does make the World Cup squad and play that Australia series and all of that, would you be excited as an Indian fan with the experience that he brings on board?
See, the thing with him is you expect clarity, and that is something that I feel is very, very critical in terms of what is the role that expected of him. And if he's not able to fulfill that role, can he be a very good sidekick? Now,
Hmm.
we talked about the WTC, where a lot of talk was about the conditions and how they will aid pace. But then also, my argument was you have Thakur and Umesh, both are not always known for control. Of course, you'll play Thakur. But if you want somebody for control, you can still play Ashwin because he's someone who will give you control. That though is very difficult in the ODI scheme of things. And again, conditions are going to dictate a lot. So even if he plays, uh, if he's picked, I'm hoping he plays all 3 Australia games because you want to see what he's offering. He hasn't played anything after before this. After that, though, only select games, select venues. So Chennai he definitely plays. So maybe that let's make the best use of the bilateral series with Australia that you have 4 games in a row, 3 now and one World Cup opener. So that will just set it up very well for him.
I've just tried to read those quotes out to you guys in case you missed Rohit Sharma's press conference. You guys can see it. Like I said, it's available on YouTube. So this is what he said about Ashwin. And this is Rohit Sharma, and I quote, as a spinning all-rounder, Ashwin's in the line. I've been talking to him on the phone. The injury happened to Akshar at the last minute. Washington was available, so he had to come and perform the role for us. And this is exactly what he said in that press conference. So it makes you think whether Ashwin will actually be Akshar's direct replacement, at least in the Australia series. And then that's probably going to be a dress rehearsal for Ashwin Anna to surprise a few. You never know. Lots of people commenting saying Ashwin didn't play any ODIs between CT17 final and SA ODIs in 2022. I know that he's a wilderness call. Naman Jade said, come on, Ash has been part of a World Cup winning team. But does that sit well with you? I know Ashwin is in the twilight of his career, and I'm putting that nicely. But as an off-spinning option in white ball cricket right now, is Ashwin the second best after Sundar, or do you think he's the best?
in terms of what he offers,
as
obviously
an off
Ashwin
spinner.
gets ahead. There is no doubt there. But see, the bit only with all of this is game time.
Hmm.
That's my only concern. That while I understand it is not something that you can plan, and you are just going in terms of, okay, if not Jadeja, Aksar, if not Aksar, who Sundar, if not Sundar, Ashwin. But I feel it's way too many down the road for you to just play. Uh, and maybe the planning is something that you can't control, because it's a very harsh thing as well. I feel on Ashwin that now again, like Ben Stokes said in in an interview, that he had always planned to take the retirement back. So maybe somewhere down the line, he in his mind knew that he had to play. He wanted to play the ODI World Cup, and if possible, he'll play. So he'll do the necessary things to be ready for it. Now, whether Ash knew or did not, which is fine for Rohit to say that we've kept everybody in the loop. But keeping everybody in the loop as opposed to giving them game time, that is something that I feel it's very, very tricky on both parts. For the management to suddenly expect Ashwin to come in, roll his arm over and take five. And again, as I said, my issue here is there is no doubt upon Ashwin, the off spinner. My only query here is, if you're replacing Aksar with him, you have Aksar to bat spin. Does Ashwin offer you the same confidence with the bat? No. So you'll have to use him differently. Let's put it that way. In terms of order, I don't even think it's a question. Ashwin, on the pedigree and quality, as I said, even if it's flat, you will find a way, or you will hope that Ashwin finds a way to keep it tight.
Yeah. I mean, sports fans is going to say absolutely right. One game is sure he'll play is against Australia in front of his Chennai home crowd for sure. So I think there was another comment. Where did that go? Sivarami Reddy. We're going to be bringing it for you guys right now. I think I'll keep my laptop open. Nick will also have
Yeah.
some sort of device next to him so we can bring you that news right now. And we'll share our screen to just show you those finalized squads for the India Australia series. Australia have already picked theirs. We'll talk about theirs in just a bit. Cricket.Dashan will take all your comments. 100% good to see you. He says just Ash shouldn't overdo his research. Ashwin's versatility to bowl at the top, middle, and maybe in the death is just an advantage you might need in India. And considering his research analysis, he's at least aware of the conditions. Let's assume, Nix, that Ashwin does get the nod, okay? And dare I say Akshar is ruled out of the World Cup, Ashwin plays. It'll just be an injustice if he actually gets again into the squad, like how he's, of course, made the WTC squad didn't play, made the England squad didn't play, and now the conditions will suit him. So, what excuse would they'll give to the Indian cricket team fans pulling Ashwin in, but not pulling him to the 11, but just in the squad? Do you think Ashwin will be fine with that?
I mean, he's gotten used to it by now, so I don't think it is going to be whether he's fine with it. But I think the
Yeah.
conditions will want you to play him,
Hmm.
because why else would you have him in the squad in the very first place? So again, the point here is not to play him in 6 out of the 9 games, but you'll definitely play him in 3 and 4 of them, depending on the conditions and how you feel that, okay, how are the decks, and if you want to rotate someone. Well, as I said, my only bit is you cannot not play him in the Australia series. I mean, he just has to start every game, uh, and which is why I'm very keen to see the arrangement of the squad as well, so that you are able to guess that, okay, which is the starting 11, and then that will give you enough idea that whether there is a chance of Ashwin being on the bench even in this series, because I don't think they'll want to just go fresh. But isn't it ironic or apt that you go from no Ashwin Jadeja, only a Jadeja, to now again to having Ashwin Jadeja and no Chahal and Kuldeep is in? It is some things. Maybe Ashwin is destiny's child. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
It's honestly Naseeb and fate and all
Yeah.
those things. But Jaideep Gajera saying, what about Ash's fielding? Ash's fielding is not the best in the world, but I'm definitely, I would put him as a better fielder than Kuldeep Yadav. Is that fair to say? Or do you think no?
Yeah, I'll just want safe catching.
Yeah, safe
At this
catching
point
is
of
what we
time,
expect.
safe catching is all that I'm expecting of. Because India have dropped a lot of sitters. As long as Ashwin is able to take sitters, see, there are four people that I'll ask to not dive at all. Bumrah, Hardik, Ashwin if he plays, and whoever else, fourth pick is wild card, whoever you want to. Do not die. It is not worth it. You losing yourself to an injury is not worth the run saved. Unless it's the last ball of the World Cup final and there is a super over happening. No, then you die. Then it is fine.
Seasoned campaigners, but they're vulnerable for sure. By the way, Santosh being cheeky as ever will miss Ashwin Anna's YouTube segment during the World Cup if he does get
Don't be
play.
surprised. Don't be
Don't be
surprised if he
surprised.
still manages to do it.
Ashwin can replace Virat in the first slip. First slip is being sorted out for sure. And
You
meanwhile, our
it.
boy Akshay Kumar Swamy saying, hello, lads, still stuck in the Golden Temple rush. And I see 35 watching, just been 15 likes. Both Naran Safi, please like this video. Like Akshay
Yeah.
spotted out in Amritsar. Good to see Akshay. I'll see Akshay soon in a bit. I just want to just go back to that Ashwin chat. What happens to Washington Sundar then? Is he just the guy who got picked for the Asia Cup final and now Ashwin's back, so then Sundar goes out? What happens to him then, Nix?
He goes and plays the Asian Games. That's that's
Oh
that
my
is that's
word.
what happens. Well, as I said, in one of our calls, that Sundar came in only because he was the guy available at that point of time to fly
Yeah.
in directly at that urgent basis. So maybe Sundar is somebody that they're looking at from a 20 over lens. So this is a freelance gig then for Ashwin. An out of the blue 50 over project to work on.
Seriously, honestly. Mohit, by the way, saying Ash always makes a comeback in the team before most ICC events. The WTC final mistake won't be repeated. And meanwhile, Deepak Maruru is saying 3 all-rounders being non-consistent results because of various types of pitches. It's quite ridiculous. By the way, a few more things to show you in terms of stats before we bring you that big announcement, I should say, in about 3 to 4 minutes. We'll hear from Rohit Sharma and Ajit Agarkar, I'm guessing, in a virtual press conference. At least that's what's proposed. But lots more of things that we want to talk about with regards to the Asia Cup. We showed you some stats earlier. We'll show it to you again. This is, of course, Shubman Gill, of course, not to forget, leading run scorer. And if you guys didn't know, he got 5 centuries, which is the fastest Indian to 5 ODI done, second on that list behind Shikhar Dhawan. Well done there. And I don't know if you guys have seen the memes, but they're always going to be saying, yeah, son-in-law and father-in-law, Sasur and Damad and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, this is all available on the cricket.com website, as well as Virat Kohli and how he conquered that Mount 13K in one internationals, fastest to 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, and 13,000. You can see how many innings he's been better off to the second guy who's broken that record. It's brilliant. And like we always believe in, numbers and data. So we'll show you lots more with regards to South Africa and Australia in a bit, but keep your comments coming through. Of course, do follow us across our social media platforms. Follow me on Instagram, Hegde Everyday. Follow Nikhil as well on Twitter, because if you guys want fantasy tips, he is the man. Right, we'll take some more questions right now because lots of you guys are pouring in. Ajinkya Damdare saying, out of the top 15 one-day international totals whose ball-by-ball commentary is available, batting first only one innings is... Yeah, I will come to that. I will come to that and much more. We'll probably take this in the 12th man segment. Santosh Sharapa saying this is what must have happened over the weekend. Rohit would have called Ash, but first he was busy with his birthday celebration, so then he dialed Sundar. I mean, I don't know how they see it, but I'm guessing the fans know
So
exactly what.
this is how it works with us also. We are calling Paji ready? नहीं Paji मैं परसों आता हूँ.
Oh my word. Actually, right? Meanwhile, Sanjay Venkateshwar was saying $1 million question is whether MS would be hired as a mentor again. I think that ship is sailed. If he had to,
Yeah.
he would probably already be in the scheme of things, but it wasn't to be. Right. So we're just moments away from that team being announced. What is your gut feeling? How many changes do you expect? I just think it'll be Akshar out, Ashwin in, and everyone will be remaining the same.
Ideally, yes. But I do expect maybe Hardik to be rested, one of Siraj Bumrah to be rested, and one of the top three to be rested. Ideally, I will not want to touch the top three at all because I want them to play together enough game time and on those decks as well. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because then what you'll eventually end up doing is you'll probably end up opening with Kishan, which you don't want to do. One series opening, one series middle order, then again one series opening. So we'll wait for it, but I'm expecting more changes, probably 3 to 4, and all of that will be precautionary and nothing to do with uh, nobody's getting dropped now.
But you mentioned the rest aspect there. given that we're so close to the World Cup, how do they play it? Like someone like Bumrah and Rahul, of course, use the Asia Cup to kind of get
Yeah.
back in the form and get miles in the legs. You mentioned a few guys that you want to see being just rested. Can you just be more specific?
Just see, I felt Hardik has played enough games on the
Hmm.
trot, and he's been on the road as well. So a good time to rest him. Uh, Again, with no Aksar, you want to give game time to Ashwin. But that will only happen if you drop one of the all rounders from the side. So I mean, you can only play 11 as of now. So in that regards, you will probably want to also give Shami some game time because he's played only one game and did not bowl his quota as well there. So I think that's what we'll see. As I said, the core will should still remain the same, but I'm just expecting कि अगर if there are any niggles, small ones as well, even the minutest ones, you'll want to not take any risk of any sort and just keep them safe and sound. That okay, uh, let it be like this only. We don't have to move, and I just hope Surya. See, this Surya, I'm not sure of. That's the one place that I'm very scared to be. That suppose that uh, they don't play the top order and want to give Surya game time, that could also be possible. So, not
Oh
ruling
my
it out as
God.
well.
It could be a hotspot for sure. By the way, Sanjay Venkateshwaran is saying any backslash predictions for the Test Man segment. You never know, they might chew on and then in. Sarvanan, good to see you. It's been a while that we've seen you. Please like this video, and we
Yeah,
will discuss, of course, England, Ben Stokes, and what he did, of course, achieve against New Zealand 182. Lots to talk about England perspective, Australia perspective, South Africa perspective, and even a New Zealand perspective if we have the time. Mehul Singhani, good to see you as well. Any idea why Mark Nicholas is not on the commentary team for the World Cup? I'm guessing because he has such a big part to play for Super Sport, which is South Africa's main broadcaster for the World Cup. Maybe they haven't picked him, but I'm guessing he will be there if you use VPN.
somewhere.
And if you guys, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
if you
yeah, yeah.
guys know, you guys know. Also, Mohit goes on to ask psychological effect on the Aussies must pick for Australia series and Chepauk match of the World Cup. Do you agree with this? I don't think so, right? I mean, they're going to pick Ashwin
Where
because
was this in WTC? Where was this in the WTC final? That's where it was more needed.
oh, 100%. But do you honestly think, Nick, like Ashwin's only in the chat right now because we're so close to the World Cup and they've realized, shit, they don't have an off spinner and they need one.
Yeah,
And I think Ashwin's the
yeah,
best bet.
yeah. That's what it is. It is the one relation that you can have direct with like correlation is say something like a Stokes. I don't even think it's a fair comparison, but taking somebody just for their primary skill, which is just one department, batting for Stokes and bowling for Ashwin, but more for their experience, and you expect them to be able to adapt better. I don't agree with Stokes, and I don't quite think it's enough time for Ashwin, but hopefully Stokes can score, but Ashwin can take more wickets.
Okay, super. By the way, we'll just wait patiently for that India squad to come out, and then of course we'll talk about it. In the meanwhile, what I'll go on to show you guys is that South Africa Australia bit because there's so much to talk about from that perspective. It's not very often you see an Australian team who's pretty dominant go 2-0 up in a 5-match ODI series and then lose that series 3-2. And there are quite a few talking points. We'll show you this just to get you guys started and how South Africa overpowered Australia. As you can see, the runs in the middle overs in this series was quite ridiculous. And it was kind of constant from South Africa, even though it was dipping from Australia, as you can see over there. But the main difference, I think, was South Africa's middle order batters, because you look at Heinrich Klassen, I know he's got 174 out of those 243, but he was definitely the difference maker in terms of the middle order batters. Nix, what else did you like from this series before we talk about the India-Australia squads and all of that? How good are South Africa, and should people actually be taking them more seriously heading into an ICC tournament, because they have about 8-9 seasoned IPL campaigners who know the conditions like the back of their hand?
Yeah, I've said this before in an MNL and also in a preview that South Africa, this could be South Africa's year. So do not cannot rule out Temba Bavuma doing his things. And I also rated Markram and Klassen as the best players for them. And both of them showed why I rate them so highly. One guy almost got a century, the other guy got a 170 odd, and then you had Makram missing out on his son in the last game. See, I think South Africa have always been a unit that hits you together as a unit, but when they don't, uh, you kind of feel that wow, they've always had the potential. So I think in the batting department they are still better placed. With the form for Quinton, Temba has been in good run of form, scored a century in that series as well. And then when you have a performing middle order of middle class, and Jansen also had a good game, the last one, also took a fifer with the ball. So I think that the batting inspires enough confidence, but to me, their World Cup will be decided with the ball. Because I felt Lungi Giri, Keshav Maharaj, Samshi, Rabada, Nock is injured. That's where you need more leaders. And I think Rabada's form is something that I'm very keen to see because he has to lead the attack. There is no doubt there. So that's where I feel South Africa will probably want to be very sure of, because Janssen has trouble bowling in the power play. So then effectively you're not having too many options to begin with. So whether they shift Keshav Maharaj to a power play role, that could also be very handy. So expecting a lot of funk and flavor from South Africa. Hopefully, if not India, Protea Fire to do the job.
Okay, love that. I'm guessing even our little own Shubh Agarwal will love that
Yep.
from Nick's because he's a big Proteas fan. Speaking of those some numbers that Nick's mentioned over there, I'll just get it out of our way so our producer won't shoot me later. Because you look at Heinrich Klassen and what he did, brilliant knock, but he still didn't beat the king in terms of taking the Aussies on. Fastest one international hundreds against Australia. Virat's 52 ball 100 against Australia in Jaipur still remains on number one. And this, of course, happened on Friday. Speaking of which, the social media boys have a concept called Freaky Friday where they honestly show you guys the best numbers, some weird numbers as well over there. I'll just remove the banner so you guys can see it completely. Highest individual scores by number 5 lower batters in one internationals, and Heinrich Klassen again featuring second in this list, thanks only to a couple. Dave, what
Yeah.
else did we really like? This blistering pair, like Nikhil mentioned, what they did in that particular partnership, it was ridiculous. If you saw the game, they were 157 for 4, 34 was gone, and they've gone up to score 416 in the end, which is mad. And this will tell you more because they conceded 173 runs in their final 10 overs in that ODI, 15 sixes included, which brings us nicely to Adam Zampa and of course joining Mick Lewis. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Nikhil informed us on our WhatsApp groups that Adam Zampa had this whole screenshot of
Ping.
his WhatsApp chat, with Mick Lewis, who of course said, "Welcome to the club, mate." And last one, I promise you, in the stats carousel of South Africa, Australia, was of course Club 99. We've seen it with Gilchrist before, we've seen it with Matthew Hayden before, and now we've seen it with Alex Harry. Unlucky to miss out on 100, and he got out on 99. Just a final thing, because we've spoken about South Africa, we'll talk about Australia because we're going to see them in action in India very soon. And Nikhil, talk to me about this depiction. Who do they pick for the World Cup? Because you look at the best Australian bowlers from 2022 in ODIs. What's to like and what's to really bank on, Nikhil Popat?
See, you see the one name there, the 113 figure mark is something that he'll want to forget very quickly, which I'm sure he will, because these things happen. I think that the first four names are the first five names, to be very honest, on that list are, I think they are definite starters there. Zampa, Stark, Hazelwood, Abbott, and Pat Cummins. And for the right reasons, they offer you a lot of different variety. We have an attacking leg spinner, left arm threat up top, Josh with his bounce. Sean Abbott has been among the wickets and among the runs for a while now. So very keen to see firstly how many games Sean gets in that space. And Cummins, of course, leading from the front as a skipper, hasn't played a lot, but the economy rate is also something good to bank on. So the thing with Australia is they find a way in a World Cup year. I do felt that this ODI series what was a bit strange because they just kept going very very hard, uh, right through the series. Even in the first game, the game that Marnus won them, you kind of felt that this is not a T20. You'll have to temper your strokes a bit. Something that their coach, Andrew McDonald, considered at the end of the series, that they wanted to temper the attack a bit because you almost felt that everybody was just going too hard. And that's what something that I'm very keen to see if they do it in the India series, because if they want to keep going, you'll need the personnel for it. Now Travis Head has gone off injured, so you have heads ruled out in that space. So where does Marnus come into the picture now? How do they go with Marsh? Smith is coming back. Is he also going to be aggressive? That is something that I'm looking at, because I think with the ball they have enough. They tried quite a few combinations. Some of the captaincy was bizarre because Ellis had overs, but Sean about bowling Michael Nesser bowled the last over and he considered 26 runs or something of that sort. So maybe they wanted to try things, which they did. Just to go back to the two graphics that we shared, the 99 run out, the previous keeper to do it was Adam Gilchrist. He did it in a World Cup game. He was also run out. So that is two very incidental. The last time it happened was 2000, like 2003 is when it happened. Warner was stumped, of course. So the last keeper to do it for Australia happened in the World Cup year. And even if you go slide further back, in the highest scores, three of them are World Cup years. The 2015 one, the Kapil Dev one, and this very one of Henry's Klassen. So maybe it's just telling us some signs that we'll see a 170 odd and we'll also see a 99 in this World Cup. Who knows?
Okay, by the way, I think there is some breaking news to give you. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just trusting Cricket Data Shan. I hope you're not lying and hope you're not making us look like fools on a Monday night. But if it's true, KL Rahul to lead Team India in the first two one-day internationals against
Yeah.
Australia, and Ravi Chandran Ashwin returns. So, next, take it away. Tell me the updates, please.
So the squad for the first two ODIs is as follows: Rahul plays, Gill plays, Gaikwad is in. Interesting. Shreyas Iyer is in. Ishan Kishan is in. Surya Kumar, of course, can't leave him out. Shardul plays. Jadeja plays. Bumrah is there. Siraj is there. Shami is there. Tilak Verma is there. Prasidh Krishna, Ashwin, and Sundar. Make
Okay.
it, make what
What?
you want of this,
Oh, my
because
word.
from what I see, from what we just heard, uh, Rohit is definitely rested then, of course, which is why Rahul is captaining. So does Kishan open? Because then now you have Gaikwad as a backup there. So that's one spot. You don't have Kohli. So very keen to see who plays at three. And of course, four I think is five. With Shreyas is playing hopefully, and Rahul, that is 4-5 locked. There is no Hardik Pandya as I expected. So expecting Shami bol raha hu, Shardul and Ashwin both to get in now, because you'll need that order down the order. So very tricky. It's good. Let me make a team first and then show, because now it feels like I'm babbling blabbering on a screen.
No, man, I'm just trying to like work my head around it as well with regards to all the updates coming through. We'll give it to you. So if you guys are joining us, please do give us a like before we kind of share any more information on this India squad announcement, which is happening live right now. So far, what we can tell you, KL Rahul to lead India in the first two one-day internationals. Rohit Sharma is expected to be the skipper in the third one-day international, but we'll sure confirm that. And like Nick said, there's some absolutely hair-raising sort of inclusions. Ashwin, yes, great. Shami Prasits will keep their place. Who else? Who else do you really want to take? Rituraj Gaikwad, isn't he part of the Asiad Games squad?
It is, which is why it is very, very surprising. See, as I said, I expected Hardik to be rested, and I expected one of the top three also to be rested. So actually, I was right in both those assessments. But I'm very keen to see who they try and in what order, because again, I mean, Gaikwad was supposed to lead, right? He's
Yeah.
the captain of the Asian Games squad. So I cannot make sense of this very, very immediately, uh, because we firstly hopefully we'll get a few quotes on uh, what is the status with Shreyas, if he's likely to start or not, because then that will solve a lot of purpose. But there are two names that really make me think a lot. That is having two off spinners in this squad. Of course, there is Kuldeep. So
Yeah.
I'm very keen to see the lineup now. India could potentially go from having two left arm spinners in one game to playing two off spinners. That's Indian cricket.
Oh my word. By the way, cricketer Dashan saying, what's with India and its ODI Vice Captain Dhawan, Hardik, Boom, and KL. Sarvanan saying, why Ritu now? Yeah, I mean, I can't understand it as well. Sports fan, this has happened earlier as well. KL hits a century versus England Test. He captains the next series to South Africa. KL is favored next level once he performs. And
He's an
Kranti,
ex-captain.
Kranti, good to see you. I mean, you already have a backup opener in Ishan. Why Rituraj? Honestly, we're trying to make sense of it as well. I mean, Rituraj, like we said, is going to be leading India in that Asian Games in Hangzhou in China, which is not too far away, which is just a week away. So he is in Bangalore. He's been training with VVS Lakshman and all the other boys being picked for the Asian Games. But this will come. Maybe, I don't know. Do you think it serves him well, Nix? Because you talk about game time. Why can't they at least let Gaikwad concentrate in the Asian Games instead of just like holding water, bringing water out, traveling unnecessarily? He has to do what? Mohali, Indore, where else are they playing?
They just, I don't know. I want to hear quotes because at this point of time, whatever we say, it's hardly going to make sense because, of course, there is no Samson in this one. Uh, so they don't want a backup keeper. Of course, you have Kishan and Rahul being the two options. So that's why that's out. As you said, Gaikwad, if you want a backup opener, why would you want to have Gaikwad? You already have Kishan. You could play Shreyas in his spot, but maybe that is a sign that Shreyas may not be fit because then they are looking at Kishan playing in the middle order with KL Rahul. Uh, so with no Hardik, I'm very keen to see if they fit Surya also, as I feared just a while back. That see, the thing is here, there are two ways to look at it. One is you're giving people rest. I'm completely cool with it, but it's just the order of players that are picked and who all are picked and the fitness status. So that is going to be very, very crucial because Bumrah, Siraj, Shami, all three are there, and you have your backup pacer and Krishna. That is the one department that looks locked and sorted. There is no problem in the pace department. But in spin department, now you have three spinners, Jadeja, Ashwin, and Sundar. I I don't know where they will play him. Tilak batted at three in the last game. I don't know why Tilak is there in the squad then. it's
It's quite ridiculous. So just to confirm, KL Rahul the captain, Shubman Gill stays, Rituraj Gaikwad being added, Shreyas Iyer is there, Ishan Kishan is there, Sky is there, Jadeja is there, Shardul is there, Bumrah is there, Mohammad Siraj, Mohammad Sami, Tilak Varma, Prasid Krishna, R. Ashwin, and Washington Sundar. So basically, no Rohit, no Virat,
no Kohli,
no Hardik. Those are the
Hardik,
three
no
main
Kuldeep.
guys, and no Kuldeep. The four main guys who won't be in this ODIs for the first two games at least, but
Yeah.
they'll definitely be part of that starting 11 against Australia in their World Cup campaign for sure. We'll give you some quotes as well, so I'll just try to make sense of this.
Oh,
Ajit Agarkar going on to say, we are hoping Akshar Patel is fit for the third encounter. R. Ashwin and
okay.
Washington Sundar are also included for the third one day international as well. And we can tell you that there's, yeah, I mean, there's more things to come out of that BCCI Twitter, especially we'll bring you all the updates on cricket.com as well. But the most puzzling one has to be the addition of someone like Rituraj Gaikwad, how they're going to use someone like Shami and Prasid. Are they just going to be water boys? Are they going
So
to
Shreyas,
actually go on?
Agarkar has mentioned that Shreyas here didn't pick a stress fracture, or else he wouldn't be part of the squad. He's fit, and we are hopeful he will play all the games in the series. So that's what
Okay. So what does that
he's said.
actually mean? The fact that they're telling us that if Shreyas didn't have that injury, which they've stated, he would have played all the games in Asia Cup. Should we
Yeah,
read between the
yeah,
lines?
yeah. I think that's what it means, and which is why I think that is the most critical aspect for me, because I think there are just two things, two spots that we wanted to discuss. One was what happens between Aksar and what happens for Shreyas. So I think Shreyas here then is a lock. Hopefully stays fit, plays all the games, and as much as I like or hate it, it's going to be a shootout between Ashwin and Sundar. I don't know
Okay.
how will whether if both of them will get both the games, but you expect them to get them, and then whoever does well goes through.
Yeah, and I think even Kranti reflects that in his comment, Nick. He goes on to say it's going to be a shootout between Ashwin and Sundar for that one spot if Akshar isn't fit, I guess. So I think both of them are going to play at least a game. Uh, and DK saying, why don't you add Rahul Chahar ahead of Ashwin? They're looking for an off spinner. So it's literally
Yeah.
Sundar or Ashwin. They can't go rogue and pick Nitish Rana or someone like that because obviously that'll just be diabolical. Robin Kumar, good to see you at least in the comments. He says, at work right now, we'll listen to the whole thing later. Jumped in to say hi and leave a like on the video. Very sweet of you. Speaking of which, all you other boys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, like this video, Monday Night Live. It's a constant fixture in the cricket.com content week. and we of course are just picking the bones about this India Australia ODI series, which of course starts on the 22nd September, and they've picked the squad. So right now it's quite ridiculous. I'll try to of course reflect it on the screen for you guys in case you guys have missed it, but it just makes you think how India will cope against Australia, who also welcome back all their key players. Pat Cummins is back, Maxwell is back, Smith is back, Stark is back. So it just makes you think how this B team will perform. And this is the updates I want to give you right now. So the squad for the first two matches, as you can see, we can probably even try to ask Nix about his batting order, but like he said, it could just be a Jai Mata Di case where you just literally throw all your eggs in one basket and so on and so forth. Chachant, good to see you. Finally, senior citizen quota activated by BCCI. Ashana over Samson. Make it make sense. By the way, people are also asking about Samson. Now, should he have at least been picked, given that they're picking so many other players? Pick Samson as well, right?
Yeah, as I said, again, I'm not justifying. I think they probably see two people as the backup. Like you have KL as the primary keeper, and then you have Kishan as the backup keeper. So they don't feel the need to play the third one. What is slightly puzzling for me is if Shreyas is fit and expected to play all the games, why is Tilak in the squad? You already have two off spinners. You already have Surya Kumar Yadav as well. Because if you just go by the order, say Gil Rutu open, they are our openers. There is no other way to go about them. Or you drop Rutu and play Kishan up top. That's also fine.
Yeah,
Then you
let's
have
presume that, yeah, it's Kishan.
okay. So Gil and Kishan open as we saw in the
Yeah.
last game. Then you now number three is where you want to see who who they put. Tilak bat at three, so maybe Tilak will bat at three. Shreyas Iyer four, KL Rahul five, Jadeja six, Washington seven, and Sami Siraj Bumrah or Shardul Siraj and Bumrah, whichever they want, whichever way they want to. So Tilak is a number three. Then good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing Kranti is literally echoing what Nikhil's saying, and I think that's maybe the first 11 that we'll see who takes on the Aussies. And it'll be interesting to see how they, of course, use Siraj and Bumrah in the series as well. Do you think they'll be given some respite, Siraj and Bumrah? Maybe just play them for
I
the
think
first couple of
they'll
games?
be rotated. I think they'll probably be rotated. I mean, they won an Asia Cup without Bumrah bowling 10 overs. That just tells you the depth. But the problem is the one guy who was taking wickets there is Kuldeep. He's not there. So who is going to take wickets for you in the middle overs? That is something that I'm very keen to look at. Uh, because Ashwin, Jadeja, and your third spinner is Sundar. Not all of them are great options at this point of time in terms of bag full of wickets in the middle overs. So the role of Shardul again becomes very, very critical. So let's see. I think they're pretty sold on Tilak because I don't think otherwise he would be part of the squad. But that is maybe just tells you unless they bat Shreyas at three, which I don't think they will. They tried it in the England, I think, when Kohli was not playing. Shreyas batted at that spot, but I don't know. I don't know how many realize Kohli hasn't played a lot of ODIs. He didn't play the West Indies series. Played didn't get to bat. Wow, I think 6 7 games. That's all into the World Cup. Wow, this is fun.
This is fun, honestly, and people will be ready with their daggers to the BCCI in case things go wrong. By the way, all you guys watching right now, like this particular video because, like we're telling you about the India squad for Australia, it's absolutely shocking, but hopefully it's a good one. Now, Pranav Anand has made a good point. It makes me think about that India Australia series next, which will, of course, start on Saturday. Gurkira show will be a good preview for that series. But Australia, what we've seen of them in South Africa, they're just going to go one way, which is absolutely explode, try to target 350, 370, 390 batting first types. And Ashwin comes into the picture right now. Would you kind of throw him in straight away to bowl to the likes of Maxwell, Green, Marsh, who've just been belting it? And how will it do him a world of good, Ashwin? Because if he gets belted this series, it's just a sad story then, right?
See, I hope firstly he'll not get belted, and I think this series is, I think, very, very, very critical for Jadeja, the bowler, because he's been bowling well, but with no Kuldeep, we just saw the stats as well how Kuldeep is creating a lot of foul shots percentage. Australia are going to go hammer and tongs. It doesn't matter to them whether you bowl left-handed or right-handed. They are what they did in South Africa. So very keen to see how Jadeja goes there, because if Jadeja is able to pull off a few wickets well at timely intervals, firstly it will reduce the pressure that you have on Kuldeep, and then you can allow a guy like Ashwin and Sundar to just get into the system without feeling too much of heat, because it's easier for them to bowl to a score of 100 for 4 than bowling at 100 for 1 in 9.2 overs. So the people who've been part of the setup, they are going to be very, very critical to allow these experiments to work out smoothly, because with Ashwin, I think he should be able to hold his own. But again, this is just going to be on presumption, because we haven't seen anything of him in this format for a long time.
Seriously, man. And Sagar Chandra, good to see you. And Kranti will take your questions. Deepak as well. Just like this video, guys. In fact, we'll take Sagar's right now because it makes you think if they are actually having a invisible competition for Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan to find out who the better middle order batter is. I don't even know why they're doing this, because what Shreyas has been our best batter for like since the last World Cup. So obviously he should get in, but obviously form is with Ishan Kishan. How do you see this puzzle kind of come to the fore in this series, next? Do you think Sagar has a point here?
No, no, he definitely does. Which is why I said that's the only reason. And I agree to his point that if you make Kishan open, then you're not learning anything new. Uh, but see, the problem here is you cannot drop Kishan because you don't have any other backup keeper. Sorry. So I don't see a point where India will be in a position that let's not pick Kishan, because he's the guy who you are banking on to be a backup opener as well, and also your backup keeper. So I don't know if it's a direct spot. It may be a spot into the 11, but in the squad, so I think Kishan will definitely be there. So could see Gill and Gaikwad opening, which is wow. Tilak bats at 3. I can't just get over it. Sorry. Then you have
It,
Shreyas,
it's
Kishan, and
crazy.
KL.
But
Wow.
next, I mean, a lot of people are saying Samson should have been there instead of Tilak. People are saying, why are they doing this? Why is people not picking Samson? I mean, Samson, I mean, as much as we love to defend his case, Tilak's probably just jumped over him in the pecking order, you feel?
Yeah, and he's jumped over by eye test more than anything else. It's a
Yeah.
punt. It's a punt that they've already taken with Surya. Uh, I don't know if we're allowed to, but it definitely feels a bit harsh on Sanju. To be very, very honest, I think they could have easily played him at 3 and nobody would complain. And it won't even be the bad option to have uh, as a guy who's ready. Then, as we saw, if Kishan suddenly goes out of form, batting in the middle overs, you still have a Sanju Samson to rely on. Uh, but again, I think, see, it's at times, from the outside we can look at it like, okay, they are probably creating a few more unwanted problems for them with the selection. But maybe if deep inside they already know the 11 and they are just trying to do something that they may not have openly communicated, that's the only benefit or doubt that I can give them, because otherwise I don't think there is any reason for not taking Sanju here. uh, you are playing Tilak at 3, you're not going to learn about him batting in the middle order by batting him at 3. So again, something that only they know what are their best possible options there.
Yeah, and it's an important point you mentioned about Kishan, because if you think about it, he's just a backup wicket keeper as well, right? So only if
Yeah.
something happens to Kishan, Sanju then gets in, maybe can knock on the door. Chuchand, going on to say Chuchand things as always. I'm now convinced that BCCI also use astrologers to select the squad, just like the Indian football team. Sagar Chandra saying Gaikwad, Gill, Iyer, Rahul, and Kishan. This should be the playing five according to him. And Pranaman also going to lend his thoughts on this Monday Night Live. Tilak Varma, etc., are there for the first two ODIs only, so they're just filling the spots. But when the top guns are back in the third, only Sundar and Ash are there. It's just a shootout between the two, nothing much. I mean, if you guys think of it like that, fair enough. But I just think there will be more complications, dare I say, in this Australia series, in case all those players have fantastic tournaments and find a couple of Australians out.
But
Imagine Ashwin gets a 4-4. It's insane.
just to ask Pranav, then who are you batting at 3? Or do you think
Mm,
Tilak is just a placeholder batting at 3?
Yeah, that's a good
That,
question.
that
Pranav, if you can
yeah.
just answer Knicks for sure. Chris Nunes, good to see you. He goes on to say, Knicks, I would send Sanju to the Asian Games. Also, the rest policy makes sense considering the long season ahead. ODI has most scenarios for injuries. But there's another guy who's funnily saying, Deepak it is himself, are Rohit and Virat bored of playing, always resting? And you mentioned it right now. Again, I'll just bring that point up. Virat Kohli is not been playing that much of ODI cricket, but does it matter for someone like him and Rohit Sharma who've just stalwarts of this format anyway?
See, different things work for different people. Things that I've heard at times in the in the past, that there are some people who don't want a lot of nets when they are on tour, because they feel that they'll be able to adapt to whatever is thrown at them, and they are confident about it. But the same is not the case with a certain few different others. Like, somebody wants to face 1,000 balls in the nets, and somebody wants to have actual game time going into the fixture. So here, what I feel is they've definitely discussed this with both Rohit and Virat, and they both have probably bought into the idea that we are fine with no game time, because at this point of time, I don't remember the last time Virat played an ODI under lights. I
Oh,
I
yeah,
I
that's a
can't
good
remember.
question.
Yeah, so
Bangladesh? Even that series he didn't play, right?
no, he wasn't there. No?
Yeah, he
So
wasn't there. That's a very
so
good question.
so it's a long time, and most all games are day-night games. Under lights, if it is doing a bit. So again, the point is they both are trusting themselves to take care of it, and they feel they'll be able to adapt to it. Great, no problem there. And I think resting is not a problem. My only bit is what you're going to do with the other bits. Who are your backups? How are you planning with the backups? That's the only thing that I'm slightly concerned with. And maybe Samson should look out at moving out. That's the
Hmm.
only way he'll get game for. That's the only way he'll get some game.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite crazy if you're a Sanju Samson fan and you might be like, what? All these guys are getting games, but Sanju has to still wait for his chance. And lots of guys are asking, when will the question session start? We've already started because we're just reacting to this news, which is, of course, transpired. India have picked their squads for the Australia series. A completely different squad for the first two, and then the third one sees Virat, Rohit, all the big boys feature in them as well. 44, if you're watching, please like this video. It'll take 1 second of your time, wherever you guys are watching, your phone, your tablet, your iPad, or your TV. We will be there to take you through the next 20 minutes or so. Mihir Chavan, good to see you as well. I don't understand that why Ritharaj's question. He's a backup in case Ishan Gishan and Gale are not fit on match day. Yep, but like they're just trying to prep him even for the Asia Games, but I don't know whether it makes sense or not. Guys, I just want to, of course, get a few things done and dusted on the MNL before we move into that 12th man segment. And given that Akshay is not here, I'll, of course, take you through to the next segment, which is How's That? We'll get How's That out of the way because I think Akshay sent me his question this time
Yeah.
around for all you guys watching. Remember, it's part of the show where you guys can win some merchandise, some Amazon vouchers, and much more if you guys get it right. Now, last week we asked you this: Who am I? I don't have the answer for it. So let's go bugging Akshay on my WhatsApp right now and plague him for the answer. Otherwise, if you guys
I
follow him,
do.
ask him. Or do you know the answer for this? Could Nikhil break it for us then, please?
Yeah, I think we already got it right from him. The correct answer to last week's question is, of course, Alex Hales.
It is
So,
Alex Hales.
and of course, the winner is also somebody that we have been talking to a lot, and that is Pranav Anand. So, well
Well
done,
done.
Pranav. This is just if I'm able to read the WhatsApp from Akshay Kumaraswamy well, I'll send a screenshot that I have only read what is there in front of me. My eyes don't lie.
All right. So this is Alex Hales. This is the Who Am I slash How's That question from last week's MNL. And this week's MNL, it's a simple connect the following. And I'll show for you guys right now. This is what he sent me. So do not shoot the messenger. Just literally connect the following. So you see Adam Gilchrist there twice. There's Alvin Kalvicharan, there's Arvind De Silva, Jeff March, Josh Brady, Josh Butler, Mohinder Amarnath, Salim Malik, Shane Warne, Rohan Kanai, and Virendra Sehwag. What is the connect with all these guys? So please let us know in the comments, and let us know not in the live chat but in the comments, because if you guys let us know in the live chat, your answers will get lost. So in the comment section of this video, please have your say. Just to feature it once again, connect the following. This is the Howzzat question this week from Akshay, who's in Amritsar right now. It's a weird one, but if you guys know, let us know in the comments. Right. I promised to talk about England as well. Let's just get that out of the way. I mean, it's a very short best of the rest segment because we already spoke about Australia and South Africa, but we'll bring it up for you nonetheless. That we always kind of course, showcase all the cricketing stories which has made headlines. Now, England, New Zealand, there was a lot to, of course, talk about from that series as well. One big talking point was Ben Stokes and what he achieved at the Oval against New Zealand, 182, and by doing so, becoming the high score in ODIs for his country, England. As you can see, Rohit Sharma's 264 still unbeaten, and lots of more great data like this available on our platform. Nikhil, I want to ask you about England's squad as well, which they announced for the World Cup. And Harry Brook is back. Jason Roy has been omitted. Do you think they have even more firepower now that they already did?
Yeah, I think there is definitely good, very good on paper with lots and lots of batting options. You see, they start with Malan and Bairstow. Malan is coming off a very good run of form. And then their engine room, that Joe Root, Ben Stokes, Josh Butler, that is uh, as good a middle order that you will get. Uh, I think that's also where Harry Brook got in over Jason Roy. That Brook is the spare batter that they can play anywhere uh,
Hmm.
from top to number six. And unfortunately, with Roy, average of 39, strike rate of 400, not bad, but uh, Butler said it's how cutthroat the competition is. So I think the problem only for them is I feel the lack of bowling depth. They have a lot of all rounders. No mistakes there. With Vokes, with Willie, with Top, you have very good left arm pace of Topley, but you've seen fitness concerns with him in the past. So very keen to see how they rotate. And Jofra Archer is traveling, so I'm sure David Willie is on his toes because we all know what happened last time there. But I think on paper they have a lot of boxes ticked. Like it is with many teams, I think fitness of their all-rounders will decide how deep they go. Because on paper they probably have replacements ready as well, and they have a lot of flexibility in that order. You could easily switch a Malan to three. They will not do it, but if you want to, you can still do it because they have the skill set like that. So very keen to see how they go. Uh, Spin bowling options are something that I feel they're probably a light on, but they've always been light of quality at times in terms of having more all-round options. So they probably want to have seven bowling options with more batting options possible, and then try and sneak a few overs here and there from people. So Livingston Moeen form to back Adil Rashid again becomes very, very critical.
Yeah, and I generally think they'll be contenders, not just because they're defending champions, but because they've just shown us this perfect template in ODI cricket. We saw from
Yeah,
the last World Cup. It'll continue into this World Cup. We saw it in the New Zealand series. They were in precarious positions, but their bowlers bail them
yeah,
out. Sometimes their batters bail them out. And like Nick's mentioned there, the engine room in that batting order is quite scary, given the fact that these players have played in India as well. So they know India and the
yeah.
conditions. It just makes you think whether England will win the World Cup, or do you think that's a far too much? Because it depends on someone like Mark Wood, Adil Rashid, because they are the X factors, even though all the other players can have their real day, Nick. So would you put them as out and outright contenders slash favorites, or do you think
Yeah.
not really?
See, I'll definitely put them in the top four teams to look out for because they have the depth in both bowling and batting. And the thing with England is they may overdo things at times, more so maybe in test with how they speak about test cricket. But the thing with them is they use resources at times better, uh, in terms of they're able to judge conditions and play people accordingly. So the likes of Vokes and Willie in a venue where there is a good enough swing, a good enough seam, great bowlers to have. You don't have to pick an extra spinner there. That option and that openness to you've dropped Jason Roy and you're getting a guy out of retirement to play. There is some team bonding there to be able to get through this without having 100 leaks in the media like we've seen in the past for other sides. So uh, they're able to hit together as a unit because of the role clarity that they have and how they use people. So I think in that sense, they'll probably be one of the favorites. But if whoever reacts better to those conditions on the day will eventually take the knockouts, is what I feel.
Remember, England do play that opening encounter against New Zealand, the repeat of the
Yeah.
World Cup final 2019, to kick off proceedings of this year's World Cup. And in fact, we'll be there to cover it. We're going to do fan cams. We'll, of course, be talking to the Barmy Army. There's lots of on ground content, and I can't wait to bring it for you guys. Right. What else we can't wait to bring it for is, of course, a final segment of the Monday Night Live, which has been a longer show, but it's fine. We had some breaking news to bring out. So if you guys are just joining us, rewind this and check out that portion of the India Australia chat, because some strange selections, but we've tried to make sense of it right now. And we'll try to make sense of your questions as well in the final segment of the MNL called How's That? Or beg your pardon, the 12th man. Right, so this is the section where we, of course, feature some of the best questions you guys have been asking us in the live chat. 100% going to ask a few to Nick's, random ones as well, most expected. Can they not get Ravi Sai Kishore in? Sorry for like literally shitting on his name, but R Sai Kishore instead? Surely not, right?
Heck, not now. Too late. You already have two good options in terms of left arm spin. Axel Patel if fit, then there is no place for Sai Kishore. If uh, again, he's a name that we've wanted for ages, even though he's not too old. But hopefully, post this World Cup, we'll see him in the system.
Okay.
He
What
doesn't even
about
get games for his IPL sides. Yeah, I mean, it's crime. How do you not get him in?
It's honestly a crime. Many people are saying that, what do you call it? He's the Santner from Tamil Nadu and all of that. But look, jokes apart, Sanjay going to ask this one. Is the World Cup going to be the battle of the lower middle order?
Mm.
KL versus Stokes versus Klassen versus Glenn Phillips? Good question. What do you feel?
Yeah, great one. I think, given how conditions usually are, and again, assuming that we continue to see the new ball move a bit, uh, your engine room, the 4, 5, 6 is what I feel will eventually come to four. They may not be needed always to get you those big hundreds, but it will be those crucial 60s, crucial 40s, a very good 20 ball 48, or very good 30 ball 60 to just prop the score higher or close the game out. So I think it. I mean, there is a reason why we're all harping on about the batting depth bit, so that you are able to have people who will be able to bail you out of situations like England found themselves in at 55 for 5. So
Yeah.
they may not be always be able to do it, but even to have options to be in a position to think that you can do it is where I feel most of the games will be won and lost. And I'm any which ways a sucker for lower middle order batters. 4, 5, 6 are where I feel most of the most skilled players play the game is what I feel. Of course, not taking number three out for a reason, but middle order is where I feel a lot of versatile players are able to come together because you need different skill sets, and hence it's a unit and not just one spot.
It's a good disclaimer you threw about that number three
Yeah,
before random people just start blaming
yes.
you. By the way, we were watching even the Sky Sports Cricket World Cup preview, and Nasser and Simon were speaking about it, and they mentioned a few points about India not being fearless, people playing for their stats, and they are kind of right in their own way. And Ajinkya going on to ask a similar question was just checking the top ODI team scores batting first. Out of the top 15 scores, 14 innings had more runs in the second half, overs 26 to 50 than the first half. How do you rate India for this phase? And do you think they'll all of a sudden in the World Cup slightly go at a higher pace?
See, I think it's a very tricky thing to nail in terms of we discussed this in Australia's context at how they want to keep going hard, but you'll have to see what is required on that very given day, and then you assess. And the thing with ODIs is it allows you a lot of time. It's something that in T20s you may be in a hurry that okay, we've been behind in the power play, let's try and catch up a lot, and then in that process you could lose a lot more. But in ODIs you are able to pace your innings a bit better because there is a lot more time for you to recalibrate your targets. uh, as for India, I think their best case scenario still remains one of the top three batting deep, because I think India they just play very differently when one of the top order batter is batting deep into the innings. It just frees everybody up to come in and go. While we may have the odd South Africa game collapse like we had in that World Cup, but uh, in what you have at this point of time, you have enough people to make the most of it. But there is the caveat of runs from Hardik and runs from Jadeja, which is why those two people, I've said it in the past as well, those two in form are very critical. You can have a very good functioning top three. The four is a question because we don't know if Siraj is fit. If it was done, then I'm very, very happy with the top six because, as I said, on paper, these are the best possible top six options that you have. So I'll back them to do the job. I'll back them to assess quickly that what is the pass score for the deck, and then you go according to that. So I think conditions which should be similar to what we saw in Colombo. Uh, Hopefully that 230 being par will probably be 280 being par, but something of that sort. Some help early on, and then it gradually gets better to batter.
Yeah, it's a super important reason that you touched upon the fact that sometimes we look at ODI cricket and we don't really break it down into phases. But
Yeah,
even if teams want to get carried away with this new attacking style of cricket, they need to realize that conditions are important,
yeah,
respecting the game is important, respecting certain bowlers and oppositions on their day is
yeah.
very important. So, good couple of points mentioned there by Nix. A couple of questions to finish up because we're way over time. Mohit going on to ask this earlier, and he was spot on because Kuldeep has been rested for the first two ODIs. Do you agree with him? Should we be resting someone like Kuldeep? Because it's a good test for him before the World Cup against Australia batters who will definitely want a piece of him.
But then, as it's rightly said, you wouldn't want to want them to get used to him, right? So it's
Yeah.
I have no problem with resting Kuldeep. As I said, my bigger bit is I want to see Jadeja. I want to see how Jadeja goes versus people who are attacking him. And in the same sense, you have other bowlers in Shami. If he's bowling in the middle overs, you want to see that more often. A lot of talk about Shardul's numbers is, oh, but he's played them. Oh, but he's played them. Let's see what he does versus a firing Australia unit. All this will give you more confidence going into the World Cup game that now you are tested against the primary batters, so to speak. So in a good way, and Kuldeep is doing good things. He's in good form. So I have no problem hiding him if you want to. In that sense, keep him fresh in the cotton wool and then unleash him. He's had a hat trick versus them, I think. So I have no problem in holding him back. Let him take a five for in Chennai.
Yeah, and one way to look at it is also not to kind of dish out all your cards before
Yeah,
the main showdown. So maybe Kuldeep is a card that India want to hold close to their chest. Cricket.com saying something completely off field. Geo's trying to bring in the star commentators and also its head. What do you think? Whether Geo will fall in the same star broadcasting time? Let's see how it goes. Obviously, we just want good sort of broadcasting. We often use
yeah.
VPN. I often use VPN to just check out Sky Sports and how they do it. But India really have to learn. I know it's kind of making more dramatic if you're a star. I think Geo will go down that same path. But whatever I've seen of Geo, they like to do it in a very casual, semi-casual way, which is maybe what the generation wants. The same man asking you next, who do you think will win the CPL this season? It's between three oldie captains and a young Brandon King.
This is the one tournament I will never be able to predict ever in my life, because I the first problem is I'm not able to watch all of the early morning games because occupied right through the day. So I think they all have decent chances, but I think eventually conditions and the number of options that they have, you just need a couple of spells to do it here and there. We all remember what Drakes did out of the blue to win it for his side. So at this point of time, because I'm not too involved also watching it, I'm more than happy. Jisko jitana hai, jita do. I am cool with it. And just to answer his previous question, you will not have to worry about broadcasting if you just following cricket.com because you'll get everything here.
Spot
So
on.
that's
Spot
a
on.
good thing to watch previews, reviews, mid innings. You have different shows as well. So you'll get everything that you want for your cricket appetite.
Absolutely, absolutely well said. Last one then, because Harun Iqbal has been patient as well. Ibrar is coming to the squad for Pakistan, so whom should he replace Osama and Nawaz? And he goes on to say, should Pakistan look to strengthen their bowling by playing four bowlers with Shadab at seven? Which will it be? Very quickly, Nikhil, how would you want to answer this one?
See, I think their biggest challenge will be replacing Naseem first. And the point here is not by playing who you play, who whether it's a pacer or a spinner. The role has to be very, 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 very clear because, like we discussed in in the previews during the Asia Cup, that teams will now sit on Shaheen and Haris. I'll
Yeah,
almost got the names wrong once again,
Shaheen.
but Shaheen. So They know Shadab isn't always at his threatening best with wickets. You know the same with Nawaz. You feel the same with Fahim. Conditions make them different and more lethal. I think he's talking about Abrar. There is no game now for Pakistan. They directly play the World Cup. So let's see in the warm up games how they do. The point will be they'll have to be very quiet, Haris and Shaheen very well, so that they are able to use them at shorter spells of 3, 3, 3 in that sorts. Because the kind of depth you've seen with others, with Abrar, Shadab, Nawaz, they haven't been able to exert a lot of control. So I also see Iftikhar getting a lot of ball, uh, matchups and otherwise. So very keen to see how they go about it because Baba's captaincy will be tested. With Nasim out, Baba's captaincy will be tested even more because there will be very little room to make an error unless they get somebody who comes in and is able to take a flurry of wickets whenever he wants them to.
Let's see how Pakistan really go about their business in the World Cup. They still remain by just
No
fractions
one.
ahead of India in that ODI rankings right now,
Thank you.
despite their elimination. Karan, sorry, man. Honestly, I'll just feature this, but you can check all of it out. We've spoken about it over this particular
Yes.
show. And Cricket Natashan, this was actually Akshay's job. I was actually waiting for this
Yeah.
question, and Akshay actually did some research into it. So maybe you have to wait for the next Monday Night Live. But really, really appreciate all you guys watching this right now. Like this video and a happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all you guys
Yep.
as well. Like Nick said at the top of the show. Nikhil, thank you so much. You've been a sport and we've brought
Yes.
literally so much of talking points in this Monday Night Live. It's been fantastic to cover it with you guys. In case you guys have missed
Yep.
it, you guys can rewatch it whenever. And we have a sensational classics coming out tomorrow on Rohit Sharma and great content for the rest of the week ahead. It's a goodbye from Nikhil and me. Unfortunately, no Akshay today, but it doesn't mean no Akshay, no party. There'll always be a party at cricket.com, content as well, and that's how we do it. It's a goodbye from us. We'll see you shortly. More information on the cricket.com website right now about everything that you guys want to know. Until the next time, it's a goodbye from me and him.
Cheers. Please like. Bye.
Cheers,
Bye
bro.
bye. Cheers.
Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.